All right. Excited for a chance to go on the road and play a tough opponent. This is obviously our first road game of the season, so always a test and a challenge. There are a lot of things that can create distraction around going on the road, be it the trip down, the hotel, day game or game day rhythms and routines being disrupted. Playing in a different environment, sight lines are different, all those kinds of things. So we need to be a mature team, focus on our process and the work this week. I thought the work on the field today was good. I thought the mentality coming into the building this morning was not where it needed to be. So we got some work to do that way. Georgia State's a proud program. This is a program that beat an SEC team in 2019. It's had 4 winning seasons in the last 5. They've been to 6 bowl games since their first FBS season in 2013. Coach McGee has a ton of SEC experience, obviously coming from Georgia. Jim Chaney is the OC. I know Jim, spent time with him before. He's a guy that I have a ton of respect for, obviously a ton of league experience, as does the defensive staff too. So they're going to be prepared for us. We need to level up here in terms of our mentality, so that we can represent our program the way we want to represent our program. With that, I'm happy to open up for questions.
I think Diego was in the injury tent part of the time Saturday night. What was the prognosis there?
He's fine. That was bumps and bruises kind of stuff. Nothing that's held him back at all. So he'll be fine.
Are you concerned? He's gotten a lot of touches. I mean, that's a big pounding to ask a quarterback to take over a season.
Yeah, I am concerned. I also want to be careful not to change the way he plays his game. I think there are things we can do to help that. Just design plays where he's handing the ball, or for design plays where he's throwing the ball. Obviously, once it becomes a pass, he's got to make the choices based off what he sees. But I want to be careful because we also have to form an identity and play to our identity. And I think with that said, Diego needs to be the competitor he's going to be, and we have to prepare the other guys in the room too. I thought Nate came in obviously and only had a couple of snaps, but was able to show dynamic playmaking with his legs. I thought he had a nice throw to Quincy that got called back. He just needs to keep progressing, but he'll be ready when called upon. We need to be conscious of Diego's exposures, but also play the game to our identity.
What's the status of Corday, Sidnor, and Colby Taylor?
Corday is getting better, I'm happy to say. He'll be questionable this week, but he's been out there moving around and doing some stuff. So he's progressing probably faster than we had initially thought, which is exciting. And then Colby is back at practice today, and I thought had a good day working his way back. He should be available this weekend, so we're excited to have both those guys back. Other injuries, I think, more are the longer term guys. Bryson Coleman's on a path back. He's starting to move around. Obviously, Mo Hampton's been out. That's soft tissue related. He's getting closer. CJ will be long term. CJ Williams, and then as is Grayson. So it was cool today to see there was little attendance in the pit, in the injury pit today. So. Feels like we're a healthy team. Obviously, anytime you're 2 games in, going on 3, there's going to be some bumps and bruises here. But on the whole, we're getting guys back, and that's a good thing.
Talk a little bit about the energy that you talked about earlier. How are you guys approaching such a hot start?
Well, I think we've had good energy. The guys are excited. I think. Don Meyer always used to say you plan, prepare, and practice like you lost your last game. And I think we have to continue just to reset ourselves and zero out and not be defined by anything that's happened before. We want a special season, and that means we have to continue to improve. And I think anytime you're you're taking your team on the road for the first time against a tough opponent. This is a tough opponent. It'll be a tough environment. They're a well-coached team. There's again, a ton of experience on that staff. This is a team that's notorious for, challenging, Power 5 and SEC teams. So we have to be mature. And again, it's my job to try to train the focus on the team, the focus of the team on the things that matter most. Like I said, I thought the work on the field was intentional. We have to come into the building every day with a little edge, and that's what I'm looking for.
You didn't let Alcorn State pass midfield Saturday. That has to take a lot of focus by a lot of people. You can easily blow a coverage or something and give up a big play. What did that speak to what your defense is doing?
Well, I think the word focus is the right word. I think we had 11 guys on the same page, really, in taking pride on putting a level of performance on display that we're proud of, and that I think reflects mission-centered focus, right? Like these guys are trying to become a unit and a team that's known for good defense and playing within structure and playing hard and attacking the ball. And I think the number of guys we played defensively and the fact that standard never slipped, I was very proud of that. And that's got to be our approach week in, week out, and sometimes, certain plays, there were a couple times where they had some space. The ball kicks off the hands of the receiver, whatever. Sometimes those plays are going to be made. But as a defense, it's just how effective are you at contesting the space, downing the ball, forcing them to line it up and snap it again. And the more reps you force the offense to take, the more times you force them to snap it, and then the more third downs you force, right? You're putting them in positions that are stressful and that test their ability to execute over time. That'll be a formula we'll take to every game this year, but we were able to execute that really well against Alcorn State, and I was very proud of the focus that the unit showed.
Coach, Saturday, Nate Johnson didn't maybe get as many reps as you guys might have liked. How do you approach that? Obviously, Taco had the pick six, he had the punt return touchdown. Do you wish maybe there were a few more reps there, and how do you evaluate that?
Yeah, we would have liked to have, I wanted him to be able to throw the ball more. We came back out and he threw the one shot. I think there's always a balance there, but early in the season you're trying to get game reps, and there's not opportunity in practice anymore for live, competitive reps. So it just, the way it timed out, again, the two non-offensive touchdowns kind of took away our ability to get him out there in a normal game flow. I thought he did a nice job getting the ball to Quincy on the one that got called back. And then, the last drive they had, extended because of a couple penalties that they were able to drain the clock out. But, we would have put the offense back on the field and played because we need to play. It was unfortunate that we didn't get more for him, but also, Nate prepares the same way each week. He'll be ready, and inevitably his number is going to be called for us this year. So he's going to get that game exposure, and he's already had it. He played at Utah and won games for them. So I feel confident in his preparedness.
The penalties are about the only thing you can complain about through 2 games. How do you feel about those? Is that just some of that just early season things playing with you guys? Is it like a discipline? How would you categorize that?
There's some that are, to me, that we need to eliminate. And I think I said this after the game. When you're dealing with a tight football game, one in the margins, 9 penalties for 90 yards will be the difference. Now, when you look at last week, I think defensively, sometimes you're going to grab the face mask. It's just, those things don't always show a lack of discipline. They can be very circumstantial. I thought the hands of the face I want back. I think we can be better than that. We understand where we need to to have our hands with respect to the blocker. The pre-snap penalties, the operational penalties on offense, we have to put into those. That can be chemistry relative or just, again, early season stuff, but I don't want to make an excuse. We talk about that all the time. So I think Tim and the offense are focused on cleaning that up because, again, to be a methodical, it just goes back to what I just said about playing defense. Force them to line it up and snap it. Offensively, we're sustaining drives, and being on schedule is like so critical to our success. So to go 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, or 1st and 10, 2nd and 5 versus 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 10 because of a 5-yard mistake. Those things. I mean, the dynamic shifts completely once you go to that side of your call sheet. So that's going to be important that we address those, and obviously we are. We want to be a disciplined team. And again, you're not gonna erase every penalty, but the ones that you control, the pre-snap penalties, the discipline penalties on defense. Again, going back to the Virginia Tech game, I did not like when we slung the quarterback down at the end of the first half. We can be better than that. I thought the roughing call on Langston Patterson, I want him to play. I didn't see anything wrong with how he played that play. So again, you can look at those and say some of those are going to be just the nature of the game or the call that was made. The ones that are, wrapped up in our choices, our decisions, our discipline, that's where we want to get better.
The new NCAA rules around coaching allows you to have more on-field coaches, and I wanted to ask specifically about being able to have more on-field special teams coaches with coaches like Shane Gallant. What has that done for your program, and what do you think that, what kind of advantage can that provide to have someone working more hands-on with specialists?
Well, first of all, he's a superstar, and he's been such a great addition to our staff, a really good teacher, and a really good coach. Just like any position, you benefit from more hands on deck. And I do think there's probably it's at some point a negative return to too many, but his ability to have impact on the specialist or the special teams play, another set of eyes, another person communicating is huge. And that's in service of Jeff Leapak, but it's also in service of all those guys that are working hard because Jeff's also focused on the offense. So, in between series, his ability to coach a player on something that's come up special teams wise gives us a chance to create an edge, and that's what we're looking for. And I think the rule that opens up the coaching responsibilities has been a great one. What a great move forward in our game. I think it's ultimately my responsibility to make sure that we're not oversaturated because that can create problems too. But it's been a lot of fun to see guys that have worked really hard get an opportunity to wear a headset and to actually coach on the field.
Marcel Hyde's been really good for you punt returns. What's he capable of doing?
Very good athlete with like legit speed, and so anytime I heard his answer on Saturday, I thought that was like a fascinating look at his mindset as a punt returner, that it's like a game of tag to him, and he's shifty, he finds vertical seams, he's having fun doing it. You can tell he's back there smiling and having a good time. And that unit, again, with our design, our strategy to be complementary and interlocked and have three phases strengthen each other, the punt return unit becomes huge in that, because if you can build to a stop and you can get 10 yards in a return or 20 yards in a return, that's a first down or 2 first downs that your offense doesn't have to get. So you start talking about the margins of field position with the punt return unit. And then, his success is only possible with 10 guys that are doing their jobs in front of them. And I think, our special teams play as a program should improve as our skill and talent has developed and improved and enhanced. And so when you're longer and you're stronger and you're faster, you're covering people up, you're sustaining blocks through the course of the play, that's usually a good thing for the returner. and we're glad to have a guy back there that knows what to do with the ball.
No turnovers on offense so far. Obviously, you can't do that the whole season, but how big of a point of emphasis is that? How key is that to what you guys have done?
It's everything. Again, go back to the strategy and kind of the identity of how we want to win. Protecting the ball and taking the ball away is essential. In game one, we left it on the ground too often, so I thought we got away with some things. I thought we were cleaner with it in game two. But that's got to define who we are. I mean, if we can play well on defense, then you're not afraid to punt it and punt to play field position to get the ball back in a better spot, but don't force things. Now, I think that's an important part of our strategy. So we've left some takeaways on the field defensively. I want to see us capitalize on those opportunities. We had a couple on Saturday that we could have finished. That again, when you talk about a game that's a 1 or 2 possession game, that'll be the difference in winning and losing. So we need to optimize all those chances, and then offensively, obviously we got to continue to take care of the ball.
You mentioned some of the potential pitfalls that come with playing on the road, and obviously you all didn't win a single road game last year. So what will be the key to kind of maintaining the same level of play away from home?
I think it's the first thing is you have to have a good team. So you have to believe in your team and feel like your team is, your team has to see the vision for the success, and then it's all about bearing yourself in the process. I think we can't make it a distraction here in the early week prep, other than to say it's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win away from home. So let's not get distracted by anything other than what is the work and what is the spirit of the work that needs to be done today. As we get further along in the week, we'll talk about the travel party and the schedules, and the routine doesn't shift a ton, but obviously the spaces do. So we're in a different hotel, we're away from our home facility, and those things can matter if you want them to matter. Ultimately, good teams, they play to standard no matter where the ball's put down, and that is the mindset or the approach that we want to take. This team wants to take on the road with us. So we'll talk about it, and obviously we'll live it out this weekend. But if we're mature in our process and we keep the vision for success in front of us, it's not going to be a distraction. It's going to be hopefully something that galvanizes us and gives us even more to fight for.
Clark, with your defensive background, Luke Fickell has talked about targeting, how he doesn't think it should be an automatic ejection. What's your thought on that rule? Is that too harsh of a penalty? Is it something that maybe the rule committee could look at a little bit differently or tweak it a little bit?
I haven't. I'm gonna give you a response, but I haven't put a ton of thought into it, just because my mind goes a lot of different places. But I would agree. I think the ejections can become a pretty hefty penalty. It's hard to judge the spirit of the foul, and also understand the need to protect. Any player that's in a compromised position, we want to coach the targeting play out of the game. That's important. But I've heard conversations around like taking an NHL kind of model on some of these, where there's a time component to it, and maybe using that rather than the ejection. I love the fact that kids aren't escorted off the field anymore. I mean, I think that was way over the top. I understand the spirit of what we're trying to do in terms of keeping the game safe, and I support that fully. I think as we have adapted and adjusted, what targeting is and what it isn't, and how we review it and all those things, I think continuing to open up and say, is this the best penalty for a targeting foul? I think that's a worthwhile conversation.
Can you talk a little bit about your success in the run game on Saturday, particularly when bringing in an extra offensive lineman? It seemed like you were able to move the ball at ease in those situations. What's your confidence in that group moving forward, especially as defenses start to get a little tougher?
It's the magic of Charlie Clark. No, I do mean that, but No, I think running the ball starts up front. It starts with the performance of your offensive line. And I've said this a number of times. I think we have the best offensive line coach in the country. I mean, I think Chris Klanakis is in DA too. I mean, those guys have done an amazing job with that front. They've built confidence through teaching and just their fundamental technical progression is really sound, and they drill it, they train it at a really high level. I also think that our defensive front has improved too. You know, I think we've developed up front. We've added pieces that have helped in that, and I believe Larry and Javon Hay have done a great job with the fundamental technical aspects on defense. So our defensive line is playing with better pad level, playing more anchored to the ground, playing square, playing long, and that's challenged our front. And so in time, the two units kind of build off each other. But you know, I knew early on when I was interacting with Coach Klanakis and I kind of was watching him unit build that we had somebody special. The way he's galvanized that room, and it's not about inspirational speeches with him. He's an inspirational teacher, and I think anytime, you know, for these guys, they want to be great at football. So if you put someone in front of them that inspires them in the way they're taught and they learn and they can process. Now as an O-lineman, I can anticipate, I can see, I communicate. We pass twists off. We understand leverage better. And as you're doing that, you have a chance to get to your technique faster than the opponent. And that's how you win up front, right? So I think the run game starts at the line of scrimmage. We've done a nice job there. We have to continue to do that. And that is going to become more and more critical as we move into the teeth of our season. And then, you know, to credit the running game and the running backs too, I think they've run physically and downhill and assertive, and, you know, there's been some really good things to go there. The design of the offense centers on the quarterback being an option to run it too, so you're forcing the defense to defend 11 people. And that's really hard. So, you know, this is the core of our identity on offense. Where we need to go from here is building off the explosive passing game that complements that run game. And now, you know, the ability to kind of separate the box that way, I think will become really important as we go further into the season. So we need to capitalize on our shots. We thought we missed a couple on Saturday, whether that's the route or the quarterback or the timing or the pressure. You know, we have to get those shots off, and we got to connect on them. And now you're forcing the defense to defend the entire field, and that becomes really hard.
With this being the last game before SEC play starts, you know, is there anything that you're hoping to learn or to accomplish beyond, you know, obviously the result, to get your team ready for conference play?
No, I mean, you know, this is the challenge in season is to grow every game. So, you know, I think each time you go out, you're trying to build on the last performance. You know, it's important that we not skip steps here. And again, this is maybe the challenge to the group is, you know, this is a really important week for us, and we want to go down and play to a standard or to a level that we're proud of, because we're going to play against a team that's going to be very hungry and going to be well coached and well prepared. And so we're not putting a lot of thought into, you know how this game prepares us for what's next. It's how we prepare for this game to make it a memory and make it something that we're proud of. And obviously, you know, once we get into the SEC schedule, that brings another level of excitement and energy. But it's not where we are right now. We're focused on Georgia State and playing the best we can this weekend.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right, thanks.